Hello everybody, John here, and today on To The Garage we're carrying on finding out what really goes on in Jaguar XK8 shock mounts. Well, if you've not already seen it, please go back to the previous video we've got looking at the situation with these top shock mounts. But the super executive summary is, in searching for the true reasons behind the wandering top mount effect, what we've discovered is the aftermarket yellow foams are quite soft, that the cup that contains two washers, which should be made of a foam rubber, as these are, like so, on the originals requires massive clamping force to squeeze down the foams, and therefore they sit in their little retaining groove rather nicely, as opposed to these things, the lid's loose, so they're not putting any pressure on. And that the tails of the springs, the end of the coil, should point towards the outside of your car, the bodywork side of your car on both sides, to minimize the influence of the cock over effect that you get on springs. Moving on. Today I'm not going to be able to go as far as I would like. It's just the nature of all the other things I've got going on. But what I'm going to do is going to take this new, been on for a few months and 2,000 miles, shock mount top off. And I'm going to drill out the rivets and we're going to look at the internals in this. Now, they are not branded. This was bought from British Parts. I suspect it's Euro, URO, as a brand, which seems to be what everybody else gets in different packages anyway. Let's have a look what's in there. To be absolutely honest, I probably wouldn't be even in the garage today because I'm busy and I'm not feeling totally 100%, but I've been kind of overwhelmed with the support that I've received off the back of the last video and all of the great advice, comments, intel that I've received. As always, I'm awful at remembering people's names, and I don't have a script, as you know, whenever I'm doing anything like this. So apologies, but you all know who you are. Everybody who's commented, everybody sent me an email based on this exercise. Love you all. We've also had Peter Hobman, who's made my aftermarket bushes that I'm going to be fitting, involved, and Backstore, which is another guy who's been manufacturing these aftermarket bushes for years in his own backyard, who's based in Australia. They've both been giving me great intel and advice. Love you all. As always, please remember, if you're playing along at home, road spring compressing is one of the more dangerous things we might do in a DIY garage, because if the compressors break, you've loaded quite a powerful gun. So it is worth putting a few cloths, heavy material items around it. No, they're not going to stop anything, but they will take some of the energy out. Make sure your compressors are equally spaced either side of the spring. Okay, so this is the outside of my damper where I want the tail to end up. But right now I'm just going to take this spring off. I've already loosened the nut and switched to a very secure spring compressor, so this is ready to come off now. There we go. I just take the spring and place it on the floor away from me. I learned something the other day as well. I think it was off Peter Hobman, that hole there, you'd always wonder if it's to do with alignment. It's simpler than that. It's to knock a roll pin in so that the nut can't turn and come undone. Learning all the time. Okay, so this is off. The weight is off the spring, spring seat, but look, still bowed and it's still collapsed there. 2,000 miles. There we go. That spring seat, I would say worse than useless. I'm not going to be aggressive about it, but I will contact British Parts. No, they didn't make this, that's clear, and just let them know the situation. What they do about it is entirely up to them. Yeah, doing nothing. Now, is this still loose? Not quite. We'll put it in a vise and drill out the rivets. Okay, so let's release the rivets. The fact that this is not rattling now tells me, in my head, that the spring had been hanging and pulling down on the washer, and this is not fast enough to come back to do anything. Now, it's been left overnight and it's come back, so it's a slow moving memory foam type effect, I suppose, but we'll find out. Sharper drill would help. In fairness, it has popped up. What I'm going to do now, get a couple of G-clamps, just in case this thing does do something unexpected. Because I really don't know what's in here. I know what should be in there. Two. Three. So that's all of the rivets out. Let's reposition and open up these so you can see better. Okay. Let's take these off. I think if I take them off quickly, we'll learn something. Yeah, I'm able to hold that shut nearly. Take the lid off. It is expanding. The washer's still off centre inside there, as you can see. It's creased and puckered. This, I don't believe, is any kind of moulded shape. That is purely the witness marks from the cup. I'm going to leave that for a few minutes and come back to it. In the meantime, I'm going to take this very old but original equipment one. I'm going to clamp it shut and leave it for an hour. Okay folks, an hour has gone by and you can see this has not come all the way back to its full form. Still got creases in it. The centre is still off. Hopefully that shows up. You can also see that this ring here is not in the middle. It's floated over to one side. Yeah, very, very disappointing. If I pop that back in there again for a second, pop the lid on, it has expanded to that sort of dimension. So you've got there, with no pressure at all, about a 7mm gap. Now with my thumbs, I can squeeze this down, trying to keep it even all the way around, till about 2 or 3 mil. Must admit, beyond that, I would need a vice to finish it off. But yeah, very disappointing. What I'm going to do now is, I had clamped this old original, as in original on my car. I'm not going to say, but this is definitely a Jaguar one, because none of them are marked. But I'm going to whip this open now and see what sort of time it takes for this to recover to its full height. Now with the other one, I could undo the clamps quite quickly, and I probably lost about 1 or 2 mil, but I could whip these off. Let's see if I can do the same with these. It's following the clamp up. You see? I still can't get that off. Genuine. There we go. So, if I want to do, right, that's about 11 mil, which is about full height. Whip the lid off quickly. One of the bushes has come off. They're just much stiffer and much more of an instant spring back. And obviously they could be stiffer because of age, but I don't think that's what it is. They're crumbly because of age, and they're still doing a better job. Oh dear. Both this old unit and these new replacement units have the same cup depth, by the way. So I don't have any with the deep cup depth that is on some models. So maybe mine are all aftermarket. By the way, this has got to be like an hour and a half since I took this off. Look, still flat. Now, the way that these new bushes is going to work, and it'll be the same. These, as I said, these are Peter Hobson's bushes, and you've also got Baxter. Both of them are subscribers to this channel. Both of them are doing their own thing and selling bushes. I can't guarantee the quality of either, obviously, and although I'm going to fit fills, you'll have to hang on for my long-term experience because I don't have a time machine. I think the obvious difference, just looking at pictures, is fills are more of a rounded shape with a cast top, and if you look at back stores, they're a little bit more shaped and formed. Probably different tooling that they've used to produce these things. This one's obviously an open top pour. I think you might have a pourer with risers on it. But if I drop that in, that actually fits full form in the bottom of there. What Phil have done, says here, some cars have a shorter shock mount housing, in which case the thinner donut can be used on the top. So you take one of these thinner ones and pop it in there. Bottom. Okay. So, 2 months old. Probably 26 years old, if not certainly 12 years, because that's how long I know this car for. And obviously brand new and work in a slightly different way, because these are not going to be squished to the same extent. They're going to work more through being full form right from the start. So have a little look at how these go together. I have actually overestimated how thick. I have actually underestimated how much this adds to the stack. So I am going to be using the thinner washer with one of the thicker washers. So that goes in the bottom. Absolutely full form. This goes in next. As you can see, it massively overhangs, whereas both the other sets are the same size as the edge of this. You have the flat surface at the top, by the way, not the conical one. Then I'm using the thinner of the 2 bushes. Goes in there. And we pop the lid on. And you've got big holes, so this is going to drift around a lot. But what I want to show you is you end up with a gap of, I would say, 4 mil maybe around here. And the way you'll deal with that is put 4 washers on your studs. Nuts on. These are temporary, obviously, so these are not the right nuts. These will then be used to clamp this up, and then we'll put pop rivets in these 3 holes here. I'm going to clamp that down until we lose the gap. Be great. So say I do a little bit of looking at the top hats that sit on the top of the spring to see if this older original is stiffer than this new one because of the distortion we see around the springs. And I'm not sure how well this is going to show up, but my executive summary is these are the same. I've clamped them both in the vise by the flange, and if I try to distort the flange, I'm not getting a different deflection on either of these two. If they're not exactly the same material, they're very, very close. So again, the reason that we saw the top hat so distorted was, I mean, look at the state of this. Fat bits, thin bits, witness marks. It's only been in there a short while. That is, I mean, it's horrendous. Just to give you an impression, bend that in half quite easily. Here's the Pete Hodman one. Now I can curve it. I'm sure I could bend it in half if I really tried, but I don't want to. I'm applying the same force. Junk. Well, I'm going to leave it there again. I'm a bit busy with a few other things, and I want to get inside where I'm warmer, if I'm honest. So next time what I'll probably do is clamp this down properly, pop rivet it all together, check that I've got perfect centralisation. It's not going to be out of centre because it's full form, but it could be a look out of centre because the lid can be bolted on and riveted on with a fair amount of play, if I'm honest. So I just want it to look right. And then I put my spring and damper in the bin, not because they're junk, but because they're compressed and it's the safest place for them. So let's just drop that in there. Okay, not going to do a lot, but all takes energy out. And we'll reassemble the whole thing, get it back in where it belongs.
Now normally Jaguar built these cars, they had a layer of 3 rings that sat there to give it the desired effects that they designed it to. Now also, if you can see this section here, this grey section, that is like a helter-skelter that sits on starts at the beginning of the spring, which is just there, and then it goes around and rises with the curve of the helicoil of the spring. And then it just pieces away and comes back down to a thinner level around this side. Now, I think all cars have got this, but over the years, if they've been repaired, either the suspension has been changed, the springs, or perhaps the shockers, some people may not have refitted these, and therefore the spring is just sitting on these 3 spaces down here. So there are 3 of them. It looks like 1, but there are 3. These are obtainable from Jaguar, but this section, this part is not. So what I did when I took mine apart, I removed the coil spring. This section here was pretty nasty and it was broken. Obviously it was made of plastic and they don't last. So I attempted to get in touch with Jaguar to find out if they still do them, but unfortunately they didn't even know what I was talking about. They got in touch with the tech department and even they didn't know what it was about. So I decided that I want to keep it original, and I didn't want to put the old ones back because they were completely gone. So I went along to a 3D company and got them to draw up a 3D plan of the unit itself, the part itself. And I then sent the file off to a company that does 3D printing, and they printed 2 off for me. And they worked out quite well, complete copies of the originals. It wasn't too expensive and it was worth doing, so I'm pleased with that as well. Looking at this suspension leg here on a 96 P-Reg XK8 with very low mileage, you can see the ABS spacer, the helicoil spacer, without the black spaces below it. Now I believe the reason that they fitted the black spaces on the XKR was to lower the suspension to give it, as I said before, the desired effect. But here clearly on this 96P reg, you can see that it doesn't have the black spaces. The reason I came across this just now when I was stripping down the front hub to replace the bearing, because it had play in it. And I just put new top wishbone bushes on, and I'm just ready to reassemble it, and it should be down on the ground in a couple of hours. So there you can see the ABS ring, which was fitted standard but without the black spaces, only on the XKR. So check your vehicle and see what you've got. Thank you.
Been loving seeing all your comments, guys, and thanks to everybody who's helped me with this in terms of advice, technical input, particularly P. Hobman and Backstore52. You're both beautiful gents. Thank you. I'll also put some contact details for Backstore52 in the description below this video. If you are in Australia, then obviously that's a no-brainer. The costs of getting them to you is going to be much less. If you're enjoying our channel, then don't forget to subscribe and click the little bell icon so you get notifications of new videos. And please give us a thumbs up or thumbs down, and you can share the videos. And below the video is always the area where you can comment and get involved with the chat.